You're listening to the Holistic Spaces podcast brought to you by Mindful Design Feng Shui School, episode 349, Feng Shui Chi Forecast, October 2025. Welcome to episode 349 of the Holistic Spaces podcast, where we hope to inspire, educate, and empower you to create your own holistic spaces that nurture and resonate with you. Laura Morris and Anjie Cho are the founders of Mindful Design Feng Shui School and authors of Mindful Living, a guide to the everyday magic of Feng Shui. We teach Feng Shui online at mindfuldesignschool.com. Be sure to sign up for our mailing list for special free workshops, free content, free events available only to our newsletter subscribers. So it was really great to see so many of you at our autumn equinox gathering and info session about our Feng Shui certification program. And if you missed it, don't worry because there's a replay. If you are a newsletter subscriber, you will have a link to it in your inbox. And as a bonus, there is a Feng Shui Qi autumn check-in list, a PDF, a downloadable PDF available for all of our newsletter subscribers. So if you're not on our newsletter list, you can join by visiting mindfuldesignschool.com/join. And we'll probably have another free gathering soon. And we also have a lot of fun stuff coming up at the end of the year for the holidays. We also want to let people know that we also had a giveaway. And so we just announced the winner of the giveaway in our newsletter. And it's Susan, and we're going to do her consultation probably I think we've planned it for December. So you'll be able to see it as a podcast episode next year, sometime in the spring. So look forward to that. Okay. So October, we're in October's monthly Chi forecast, and Laura's going to get us started.
Yes. Welcome to October, everybody. The key dates that you can become familiar with and become aware of to take note of changes where you are. First, we'll talk about the solar terms, and the solar terms are from the Chinese solar calendar. There are 2 in each month. So these are like micro seasons, and they will last 2 weeks. And so each month has 2, but not the exact calendar month. So roughly it falls over 2 per month. The first happens on October the 8th, and it is called Cold Dew. If you remember, last month, one of the solar terms was called White Dew. It's evocative, it's visual, you know what we're talking about. The first sort of sighting of dew when the mornings are quite cool in September is now turning into a colder dew, and there is less moisture, less humidity, less rain. This is also a time in China, traditionally, when pomegranates are ripe. They are also a symbol of abundance and fertility. Chrysanthemums are everywhere at this time of year. And in China, they even drink chrysanthemum wine at this time of year. Where we are in North America, it is the pumpkin spice latte season, although I feel like that was like now it's like August at this point. So the season has been stretched. But anyway, I feel like I instead of calling it pumpkin spice season, it's pumpkin time. Pumpkins, squashes, gourds. In Canada, for all the Canadians listening, this is around the time during this period is when we celebrate our Thanksgiving. It is different from the US. It is essentially a harvest family gathering celebration. It's not the big deal that it is. It's fairly basically the first time kids come home from university and they go home and eat and do their laundry. And then depending on where you are, also when I'm in Italy, this is a time when olives are being picked. So it is olive picking and pressing season. So, what's going on where you are? Everyone, I know we have listeners all over. I know some of you are in the Southern Hemisphere, so you're going to be experiencing very different things. What are you experiencing where you are? What are the types of things that make you think of this fall harvest time? Then October the 23rd is the second solar term, and it is called frost or frost descends. So that cold dew has turned to frost. and the colder days are here. You might have some cold evenings and night that, if any of you put your plants out for the summer, which I do. I put my house plants out for the summer so they can enjoy they love being outside, and they grow so much bigger. This is around the time when I definitely need to have brought them in by now. Usually I do it around, I'm going to use Celsius, but anyway, usually I do it around 10 degrees or just below that. So you sensitive plants, if you've planted annuals in your garden, those are going to freeze once that temperature drops below zero, because the frost will begin to attach itself to the plants. And those more tender, vulnerable plants, if you're in a northern region where they're not generally hardy, the water in that plant is going to freeze and they're going to wither and die. And generally, unless it is a perennial and a hardier, it's not going to come back next year. So you replant it next spring. The leaves are falling, they're big piles of leaves everywhere. And essentially, the vegetation is dying back, is receding, is going back towards the roots. And as we have described this metal season as being, right? Because each of the seasons has its own element. The full moon for October is on October 6th, and it is actually a full harvest moon. So the harvest moon is either in September or October. It is the full moon nearest to the fall, the autumn equinox, and that is why the moon is called a harvest moon, unlike other full moons. It is a super moon as well, which means it's going to appear brighter and bigger. And the reason that it is called a harvest moon is when tractors didn't have headlights in the front of them and before electrical, and vehicles, etc. And I think still to this day, just even with the modern technology in farming, the harvest moon generally lasts for a few evenings. So you have the evening, the light, they have more light to work with. In the almanac, what is written, giving farmers these several extra hours of light in these evenings, these critical time before the arrival of that hard frost. Overall, October is really, and the moon in October is really about, at this time of year too, when you're thinking of the metal, it is about seeking reflection. Maybe tapping into a little bit more of intuition, although we're going to talk more about that as we move into more of the winter months. But, what can you receive during this transition period? What insights are coming to the surface? Because this is a real time of self-reflection given the season. Also, some of the historical names for October, the October full moon, when it is not in harvest moon, it's called hunter moon or the travel moon.
So we also share the Chinese zodiac connections each month in our chi forecast. So October is connected to the zodiac sign, the dog. So that means if you were born in the year of the rabbit or the tiger or the horse, this is a month of supportive energy for you. And if you're born in the year of the dragon or the rooster, it's a month to take it easy and to be careful. So that's a message for me. I'm a dragon with a challenging relationship to the dog. So every month, we also share one lucky day out of a few, but we pick one lucky day for every zodiac animal. So this is one lucky day for every zodiac animal in October. So for everybody, a be careful day is called a Po day. And we recommend everyone be careful regardless of your sign on October 26th. And an auspicious day, one auspicious day in October for every zodiac animal we'll toggle me and Laura. So rat is October 23rd.
Ox is October 22nd.
If you're born in the year of the tiger, October 21st.
Rabbits, it's October the 20th.
If you're born in the year of the dragon, October 31st.
For those snakes, it is October 18th.
If you're born in the year of the horse, October 29th.
For rams, it's October 16th.
If you're born in the year of the monkey, October 27th.
For those born in the year of the rooster, it's October 23rd.
Born in the year of the dog, October 25th.
And the year of the pig is October the 24th.
So again, you find out what year animal you are. That's a very easy search on the internet. And then we've given you one lucky day, an auspicious day where you have a little bit more energy, good energy on your side in the month of October.
So overall, the Chi of October is marking a continued transition when the energy, the Chi, is returning to the earth. Again, these trees are shedding their leaves, the plants are dying back, the Chi is cool and contracting. The cycle of growth is coming to an end, and this in turn becomes a time to reflect, to offer gratitude for the gifts and the teachings of the year, the harvest, what you've reaped throughout the year. As metal chi diminishes, as we move further along, you're going to start to notice the mysterious energies of water are going to emerge. See how this time feels for you, because that cold frost is really the water chi beginning. And October, especially late October into early November, is this thin liminal time that facilitates a connection between ancestor connections, or for those we have lost. There's many different celebrations in that time as we shift into the end of October and then right into the initial part of November. So this natural cycle, harvest is moving darker days, transitioning into yin chi. The metal season is moving into water season. So autumn moving into winter as we go into, we start to shift at the end of the month. And, just enjoying this time, before you make way for winter, to gather, to enjoy the harvest, to enjoy the bounty and all the beautiful things. I mean, October is just a beautiful month. At least it is where I am. For those of you that experience all four seasons, October is generally just it's just such a beautiful time of, I don't know, just nurturing color, food, sweaters. It's just great. I love it.
So every month we offer a reading and we toggle between a tarot card reading and an I Ching reading. So if you're not familiar with the I Ching, if you're new to our podcast, the I Ching is one of the foundational feng shui books. It's a Taoist book, the Book of Changes, and it can describe the cycles of nature. It describes yin and yang. It describes the elements. It also is a book that can be used for divination and offer us some insights. So we'll share an I Ching reading for the month of October. So this month I asked, how can the Holistic Spaces podcast listener community welcome the Chi of October? And the interesting thing is, Laura talked about this time when the water is starting to emerge and arise. And the first hexagram that I received was hexagram 5, which is water over heaven, or also written as cloud over heaven. And some words that describe this hexagram number 5 is needing, waiting, calculated in action. Again, it's cloud over heaven, Khan over Chen, or water over heaven. And it does speak to this water that Laura talked about, the water that is starting to emerge. So when I look at one of the translations of hexagram number 5, it talks about the Tao in ancient times. There was a need, of course, to nourish the body and spirit. And so people didn't necessarily worry about the sun. They could rely on the sun, and we can too. We can rely on the sun coming up. We can rely on the air for the most part, and the soil, the earth. And those things are becoming more and more compromised in our modern world. But one thing that is harder to work with is water. So this hexagram speaks to this needing rain. And the ideograph of this hexagram shows raindrops descending from heaven. And the importance of that water element, that rain, and even the ideograph could even be viewed as a human praying for rain. And we know that in ancient times, a lot of famine and drought could cause a lot of distress for human beings because again, things like sunlight and earth and air were a little bit easier, more reliable than rain. So this translates to us in other ways too, besides on in the practical sense of our body nourishment. But when can we as humans see the importance of waiting, especially when you need something? I love that phrase calculated in action. So calculated waiting without action, right? And the importance of that patience, that there's something in October that's going to require your patience. So it's less about action, but more about patience. And I think that's a good contemplation, especially for some of you more experienced feng shui practitioners, that metal element tends to lend to the idea of action, but there can be action within action. And there's a suggestion to nourish the body, accumulate strength during this time of inaction because you are calculating this inaction. And it's a time that you can steady your strength. And so in the I Ching and in Feng Shui, heaven symbolizes strength. Heaven is actually metal element and water symbolizes danger. So this is a picture of strength confronting danger because they're both in this hexagram. And then in another translation, this hexagram talks about this more about this calculated waiting to have some intelligence in welcoming the inaction and what may be happening in your internal environment as you wait. Will you succumb to confusion or chaos and fear? Will you waste valuable chi through rumination, frittering things away, agitation, worry? Instead, how can you be more calculated in this time of waiting? And can you instead nourish and strengthen yourself for what it is you're waiting for? And then the outcome hexagram is 43, which is Dway or lake over um, Chen or heaven. So this is also described as or translated as resolution, eliminating hesitation, breakthrough, and resoluteness. So I think one of the outcomes of this calculated inaction where you review, you reflect, you nourish yourself in this time that you're waiting for something you need. Just like we need water to nourish ourselves. We need water to grow agriculture. We need water to feed ourselves so we can grow and be healthy. But what do you do when you're waiting for that thing that you need? And so the suggestion is to gain strength and to be more calculated in this time and not to fritter away your energy. And then what will be the outcome of that is that you will have resolution, that you will have the strength to cheerfully, with calmness, with authority, with truth, with balance, you're going to be able to come to some kind of resolution. There's going to be a balanced situation that arises from this. And also one interesting thing is, Laura, so the last time I did the I Ching reading was this is for October. The last one was, I think, so August, right?
Mhm.
So for this one, I got hexagram 5, which the outcome hexagram is hexagram 43. So last time the first hexagram was 44 and the outcome hexagram was 6. So they
Mm.
just went away. Is that interesting?
The reverse. Yeah.
Yeah. And in reverse. Okay.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Laura, on this?
I thought it was interesting when I was looking through some of the texts that I have, that water over heaven, I immediately thought, and then you had mentioned it, but I immediately thought, so water in the I Ching is often seen as, and kind of narrowly sometimes seen as being danger or dark or kind of a bummer and fearful. And then heaven is quite the opposite. Heaven is, powerful and all the capabilities you have kind of, it's the most yang. But sometimes I like to and I remember and I remind myself that when you read through some of the notes, et cetera, or interpretations of water, it is about resilience. So it is about weathering something, going through that fear, that danger, knowing that. And in this case, it's like you have to kind of see past or wait, as you mentioned, wait through the water or be patient or be resilient through what might be perceived as this watery period to be able to reveal the heaven underneath, which is could be dreams, it could be, big movements, big things, big events, travel, all these things that are connected sort of with that area as well. So when I was thinking about it, because again, we try to connect it to the feng shui that you can do to support you when you get these readings, is you're waiting with purpose. So, you're waiting with purpose because water is, so many things. It is also finding your purpose as well. And so, what can you do to exercise this patience or this waiting period? Or, because really that's what it's about. It's, at this point, there's a, you can imagine that maybe there's a big rain or clouds over your big dreams right now, right? Or over whatever you've got planned that, you're trying to push through and it's just not working. You just have to be patient. So, how can you fill that time with ease and with something beautiful? Also working with what we've been talking about this month. So things that came to mind was make food, right? This is a time to make wonderful, nourishing food. I don't know. I find that making soup makes everything better sometimes.
Well,
Gathering.
soup is a gathering of and a water focused, water enriched food as well.
Yeah. It's like, how can you turn that water into something really nourishing? Right? Because your stock is going to be your base. And what can you do? And there's so many great things you can make. Gathering, right? Bringing people together and then but creating in a soft way. So not forced, not because we are moving from this metal into this water time, right? So you don't need to fix and do everything all the time. And so if you bring that to the home, right? When you really think about what you should be doing in the home, you could work with the areas of Dway, which is that reflection. And you could also work with Chen as well. Because in your reading, Angie, the water turns into the lake, right? Like when you do the change line.
Yes.
And so it goes from that cloud into that basically like this mirror of possibility, right? And so because it's a very powerful, that second hexagram that you had, 43 resolution is a very powerful one. So those are some things that sort of just came to mind for me.
Yeah. And by the way, if you don't know where Helpful People, Chen, or Dway completion is in your home, we have our free Bagua e-kit that you can download. Or also, if you're on our newsletter list, we have right now through the fall a free autumn chi checklist PDF, a link to that in all of our newsletters. And also, we talk more about this and we'll explain how you find those areas in the replay of our autumn equinox gathering. So be sure to check this out. Just sign up for our newsletter list. Go to mindfuldesignschool.com/join and you'll get that in your inbox. So, speaking of those areas, one of those areas, Chen, is called Helpful People. And actually this trigram Chen shows up in both of our hexagrams for this month's reading. So having helpful people to help you realize your dreams can be very supportive and, like Laura mentioned, a subtle way of finding that balance. And what some people may need to also look at is, how do you become a helpful person? Or are you an overly helpful person? What does it feel like to be helped? How does it feel to help others? How is your relationship to receiving help, offering help? just investigating all that, because some folks are really good at being a helper, but not good at receiving help. Some folks are feeling depleted because they help so much and no one's helping them. There's, a lot of different iterations of that besides the just obvious asking for help, and really investigating that and looking, in this time, that the I Ching is suggesting, the way to welcome the chi in October. That's the question. How do we welcome the chi of October is to take this time with calculated inaction, not doing, but how can we explore that internal landscape?
And then one last thing that came out of it and that works with these hexagrams is clean your mirrors. Spend some time. It's sort of like your mirrors become almost a symbol of everything that we've just talked about, right? So the reflection that they represent water, but they almost represent that lake version of water, which is that reflective, beautiful, joyous one, as well as, mirrors can mean so many things and water can mean so many things. But, clean your mirrors with intention to wipe away those clouds, to help you wipe away the rain and the clouds, and to reveal, what you're working on. And you can set an intention of all the things that we talked about, maybe finding that helpful person to realize your dreams, et cetera, et cetera. So be intentional and clean your mirrors in your home, and see that as a way to open up and lift the rain clouds.
Yeah, so we are looking forward to spending October with you on the podcast. We have some really fun episodes coming up, a couple about the fall, harnessing the chi, decorating for fall with Feng Shui, as well as an invitation to explore that liminal time that Laura alluded to coming up at the end of the month. And Laura, do you celebrate All Saints Day?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. I have. Yeah, I do it. All Saints, All Souls, All Saints and All Souls, but usually I celebrate All Souls Day, and you can't avoid I'm in Italy generally when All Saints, they're both and you cannot it's a religious holiday there, so everyone celebrates it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what's really fun is this year I'll be in Mexico just before Dia de Muertos, which is, the Mexican version. And it's also what I'm learning now is also really deeply connected to the indigenous community in central Mexico. And so I'll be there teaching a flower Dia de Muertos retreat. Anyway, we're gonna have an episode about that too. So
Mhm. Cool.
so
Yep.
everyone stay tuned for October, and thank you so much for listening to the Holistic Spaces podcast. You can tune in every Monday for a new episode. Be sure to join our mailing list. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up, and you can join by visiting mindfuldesignschool.com/join. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.